Welcome back to another session about productivity and stuff.
Like
Paco,
as
what a
always.
week. What a week. Just last week, we both finally received access to Lazy,
Yeah.
the note-taking application that I made a video about the teaser of their application over a year ago. And then Heptabase did it. They added an inbox. How crazy is
Yeah.
that? We also said this 2 years
What a
ago or 3 years
coincidence.
ago now, right?
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence that I remember posting the video and going to Discord and telling them, man, amazing app, but we need an inbox. And that just shows that there's no clarity about overall productivity in a tool agnostic sense, that people are not aware what is going on in the back end of your productivity system. So now we have it in the front end. There we go. Well, let's talk about these tools in general. As we say, personalizing your tool stack. And well, let's talk about that. We have quite a different tool stack. Even on a surface level, if you look at it, we have very similar setups, but there's a big difference when it comes to PKM. So you have a lot more use from Tana, and I stopped using Tana completely. And I was suffering from that ever since, because there is no shallow thinking system for me. Nothing to quickly capture so I can be secure to store it. And then I tested Lazy when I conducted this last week, and I was really surprised. I mean, I love the design since day one, the UI that they show. And I see the potential. Is it there yet? I don't know. Maybe a bit rough around the edges when it comes to this, but it serves the needs that I had to quickly capture, to be content aware whenever I capture something. So when I'm watching a YouTube video, I hit Command J, it opens up Lazy AI, and I can summarize this. This saves me a lot of steps. I can have prompts from this. Yes, maybe I can make this with Raycast too. But talking about Raycast, there's Raycast notes, and I suffer a lot from this. It's not useful to me. I know that you love it, but maybe you can tell me I'm using it wrong. But when it comes to formatting, for example, I want to save just plain text URLs. It always converts it into a proper URL. Sometimes the notes don't show up at all, so it's quite buggy, at least on my machine, which might be due to all the things that I have on my machine. I don't know. But I cannot rely on the Raycast note-taking part, which would be, this intermediate step. I'm not opening up Heptabase to quickly store something that I use elsewhere. I need a notepad, and I used Raycast notes before it became a thing. That was just this pinned note so much in the past, and I was excited about the rollout. But I suffer a lot from this formatting and how it interprets what you put in there, also when you add code and things like that. I just want to have a plain text thing, and that's it. Yeah, many things. What about you, Paco?
Well, I gave a try just out of curiosity, and also because I
Now you
love
talk about
the
Lazy,
graphical.
because I mentioned
Lazy,
so many
yes.
things.
Lazy, yeah. Because, well, it was quite superhuman style, we can call it, okay? and well, it was worth it to give it a try just for the sake of it, because in my case, I have no problem. The beautiful thing about myself is that I'm quite well with Tana. I'm combining perfectly my shallow thinking process plus the deep thinking processes. And the moment that you can perfectly have all those separated thinking processes in the same tool, it's quite an advantage. Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's when people jump in and say, but you don't bet on one tool for everything. Okay. We don't bet on one tool for everything, but we try to have as few tools as possible. Okay. That's the balance and the difficult thing that we need to achieve. Okay. But you should only start splitting your productivity system into different tools the moment that you're suffering friction. Okay. In my case, both the inner world and the outer world are perfectly set up. In my case, for the inner world, okay, thoughts that comes out of my mind, okay, my crazy man, I use mainly Tana for everything, even scratching. I just use Raycast the moment that I want to have plain text, that I don't have the notes. That sometimes when you copy and paste the notes in, depending on the application, the text field or whatever,
Yeah,
by
but
using
this is what
Tana,
I'm suffering from. I have no idea
I don't
how maybe it's
For
set
me,
wrong.
I
I
don't
don't
have
know.
any. For me, I don't have any problem, and it copy and paste well. I don't know if it depends. I'm convinced that depends on the tool that you are pasting, for sure. Okay, and for me, I can use perfectly. I have things that I do love about because Raycast. I moved from Apple Notes to Raycast for the same workflow. In my case, because I was missing to easy link to any node in that Scratchpad system, okay, and also being able to use Markdown without any problem. I tried some inventions, okay, by using extensions to Apple Notes, and well, it was quite a bad experience, I would say. Okay, so the moment that I had the Raycast that had the Markdown, also the floating window, the synchronization between devices, and and the link to any node at all, plus just using my keyboard. Okay, I can perfectly use my keyboard, and I can navigate through the app without any problem, something that I wasn't able to do by using Apple Notes. It was quite difficult, and that was it. And I almost don't use it at all. I mean, it's just certain specific, especially when I'm on the go and I want to write it down something quickly, instead of sending it to Tana, I just quickly put it there and that's it. If I know that that doesn't interest me at all, but at least, well, it's there and not in a piece of paper because I don't use any, okay? Then the Tana covers perfectly all my shallow thinking and all that speed that I need to quickly jot things down and organize them at the same time, and also the outline. Okay, in my case, I can perfectly use an outline for deep thinking. It's the way I have always thought. I remember when, well, I was 10 years old or so that I started making sketches. Okay, to learn the lessons and whatever. It was something that I was taught at a school, and for me, it was something that I think that was the introductory lesson, I would say, to outlining at that moment. So we are talking about 40 years ago. And since then, I've always been quite good by doing that. Okay. So the moment that I need to move to visual, it needs to be really something complicated. Okay. I just use Heptabase, for instance. The last time I used Heptabase for giving a structure to something that it was complicated, it was the ICOR journey book. That was the moment that I needed some kind of whiteboard so that I can navigate, move things up and down, use different colors and all that, because it was quite messy by using an outliner. But I don't know if it's the case of many busy professionals, but the deep thinking process of a busy professional tends not to be like a researcher or something like that. It's something that it doesn't go so deep or it's not so complicated. Obviously, it depends on the person. Okay, the moment that Tom and myself start sharing how we think, we can see that we think completely different, talking about how we approach the thinking process. Okay, and I think that that's quite personal, and that's why Heptabase has become just an utility app, because I use it for our articles. Okay, the articles that we publish, because it's well, that plain text that allows me to perfectly copy and paste. They are coming from Lex, that it's the real tool that I use, okay, because I can perfectly combine Lex with AI in the same screen, and that's something that Heptabase has not done yet. Okay, so for me, I have seen how Heptabase has become more or less a utility app instead of a core tool in my tool stack. Okay, so the moment that Lazy came into town, well, it didn't give me anything at all, okay? Because in the moment that we talk about the outer wall, okay, content that is produced by someone else, that's not me, I'm perfectly covered because I trust a lot in Reader, okay? In Reader, it's enough for me. I tag it so that I send it to a bucket. I know that we are using ICOR terms, okay, but we cannot explain each of them, okay? But it's a way of classifying the content. And also, if I need to add any additional information, I can perfectly add a note to any content that I have captured by using Reader. And talking about capturing images, that it's a workflow that I'm constantly using because I'm an avid user of X, okay? And I capture a lot of tweets and images. And for me, my mind is beautiful for that. Okay, it's quite a streamlined workflow for me. And just with those two apps, lazy talking about capturing content coming from the outer world doesn't give me any additional value. The point is that there are beautiful design tools there. It's like lazy or, for instance, craft that I could love, okay, to use. But the point is that it doesn't make sense, okay? It doesn't make sense to start splitting your tool stack when those workflows are running without any friction at all, okay? That I think that wasn't your case by using Heptabase for shallow thinking.
Now it's funny because while you've been talking, I just tested it. I haven't tested it yet, the new inbox in Heptabase, right? As they just published it. So I gave it a try while you've been explaining and sent just a YouTube video directly to Heptabase from my mobile because I was curious if this would actually solve this problem, which was capturing stuff. I always had to think about where to place it. And look at this. I have to say, they did it again. They not only just made a bucket where there's an inbox of all the things, they really thought it through. So it ends up in the inbox. And now you can also say, remind me, and send it to a different date. And it will move it to a later inbox. Okay. And I can directly there tag it. So I can directly tag the thing with whatever tag I'm using. I can mark it as done, so it stays in the card library. I can view the whole thing. It always also beautiful when I click on it. The right side panel shows me the actual note that I sent, okay? And then I can send it to a whiteboard. And again, when you send it to a whiteboard, I can then click, it goes to the whiteboard, it highlights that I just moved there, and now I can organize it on the whiteboard. So right now, until the point of the inbox that we said we need the inbox, right? We always send, or I always try to send it to a whiteboard, and then later on, 3 days later, I go to the whiteboard, and then I find all the stuff there, and I need to organize it. That's why we love
I think
inboxes.
that's impressive.
And now the last thing about inbox, they split between information and action in the inbox. So now you can send, so that they removed the task manager and moved it to the inbox. So now it's actually an inbox what we wanted, because now whenever I create checkboxes in any node, it ends up in an inbox, so I can process it later into my action system. And sorry, lazy, but I think this, see how much such a small implementation, but it is important that they thought this through. They implemented it for the web clipper and for all the things, so they didn't make a half-baked thing. They really made this very well, I have to say.
The thing is that what I was going to say was exactly that I quickly, because the moment, because we've been waiting for, I'm not using Heptabase for this use case, okay, but the moment that I saw the inbox feature, I quickly posted on our membership so that our members are aware, but also I quickly went into that. I switch on my computer and I made a quick test, and I say, man, the triage that they have implemented as a feature is exactly what we explained and described almost 3 years ago, because it was it, it was exactly that. They really understood the workflow behind. And I have to say something, and I will write, I cannot avoid this temptation, I will write again an article defending inboxes, because any serious tool has an inbox. If you go to ClickUp, to Linear, to Todoist, to Heptabase, to any productivity tool, understand that a system starts with inboxes, okay? And afterwards, routines. Those are the core elements and pillars of any system. And if you are building a productivity system, your productivity tool should have that place, okay, where you leave things to be distilled, okay? And that the point is that people don't create the system behind to go through the different inboxes, okay? And they think that they're gonna have millions of inboxes that are collapsing every single day, and that's not the case, because right now, imagine now how powerful you have become keeping on Heptabase with that inbox workflow, because now it allows you to calmly see something, send it to the inbox, and you know that it's safe and sound, and you keep doing your thing. I think that that's amazing. And the second thing that I was going to mention is that, again, the moment that you have a pretty well-defined and consolidated productivity system with a really good tool stack, it's quite difficult to switch tools. Now you have the shiny object of lazy, okay? And the moment that you start comparing with a pretty well consolidated tool stack, it's really difficult. For me, it's really difficult to move away out of Tana. It's really difficult to find out a tool that combines outlining with object-oriented paradigm. Also, that I can combine the shallow thinking and the thinking. It's too many, check boxes that new tool has to mark.
And that's why we call it core applications, right? That's it. Per definition, it's hard to replace. And I just thought to extend, but again, immediately the thing I suffer, that was the reason why I killed Tana in the first place, scattering the information. Now you need to be really clear, what do you place where? It's easy for something like Raycast notes because that's just a temporary storage for things or something that I need to quickly access over and over again. That's what I'm using it for. So very tight boundaries for this. And now I think Heptabase just solved it. What a coincidence, man. After all these years, can you imagine? They must have known it, After all these years, first of all, waiting for access to Lazy and waiting for the inbox to Heptabase, and both happens in the same week. That can't be a coincidence. But talking about inboxes, maybe some of you realized that we are working on our own application that we call the one app to rule them all. Literally, because it is the ICOR framework that we have an application for. And there, what do we have there, Paco? You just were able to test it today. We have an inbox, okay? So you go in there and you just think about the tools that you're using and boom, boom, boom. You just fill up the inbox with all these tools without switching thought process between remembering what you have and immediately deciding where you should place this tool later on. That's why we implemented an inbox too. So you have two different steps in the process. First is think about just about all the tools that you're using and list them out. And later on, place them on your ICOR framework to realize what you're using these tools for. So
yes, because the thing is that there are different mental processes. The point is that they go so fast that we are not aware that those processes exist. But the moment and that we trust on a tool that perfectly develop, those processes, is the moment that friction disappears, because many people are suffering that friction and they don't know the cause, They don't know why they are suffering that, because for them it's just one process, but it's not, The point is that they are unaware of that situation, and the moment that a tool facilitates those different processes, and also it's the sensation of release, the moment that anything pops up in your head and you save it in a place that you know that you will go later at any moment, the moment that you consider that is the moment to go there, for me, that's huge, because how many situations do we face every single day as busy professionals that something pops up and we need to just save it at that moment and keep doing the exact same thing? I don't know, maybe hundreds of situations per day. So imagine suffering that friction. That's why people end up totally overwhelmed, because this is overwhelming. This is a time and energy waster that it's consuming people. And it's, quote, as easy as that, because the thing is creating an inbox that is easy to triage. Because right now, for instance, inside our membership, what can we say about the inbox that we have? Well, it could be improved.
Yeah,
it
man.
could be improved.
That's also something else. I know at some point they will do it, but since day one, I'm reaching out to our membership platform developers there, and Tony Robbins is using the same platform, right? He doesn't care. Maybe he's not even there.
No, he's not triaging the inbox.
Right? Yeah, but we are using it, and we process our inbox in there too. And the notification system, things like that. We get a notification about something that we post ourselves and something like that, and they try to defend this as a feature and not as a bug. That's amazing. And just splitting the inbox between, having a filter of mentions, something standard, and they don't have this as a priority. They have this as a something in the future life, and I'm always it always surprises me because these people are getting direct messages, mentions all the time, and they're on top of everything. So they live with this inbox. They're not aware that there's a problem, and well, then there's no reason to fix anything. Obviously, they have a lot more to tackle there. But again, yeah, talking about inboxes, it's something we look all over the place, and it is.
And by the way, this is a huge step, okay, for Heptabase. I see there. Well, we have to say things calmly, okay, because I'm being a little bit careful because it's not easy to compare. But right now, the approach of Craft and Heptabase, talking about that combination of simple task management so that you can use your PK or note-taking tool as a quick capture of actions that later on they will be sent, okay, to the action system, your task management system. I think that they are quite, because this was something that it was a lack. It was something that they were missing. Heptabase, talking about the inbox and all these things. But now the moment that you can be in a meeting, jotting things down, an action emerges, you put it there, it goes to the inbox, you triage your inbox, you process it, and then you create properly those actions. You got the context because it's huge, the connection, because that's something that, for instance, Craft doesn't have, that is whiteboards. The moment that you can go to any item to a whiteboard that gives you that overall picture, for me, it's amazing. That's why we always end up recommending Heptabase for busy professional, because it has it all. The only
It's so funny,
weakness.
Paco. It's so funny because, well, it is amazing. I just saw it again when you click on the inbox item and you can directly edit the note, and so many things done right. Something that you can do perfectly in Tana as well. You check what is there, you maybe edit it and so on, and then you move it into the right position. That's exactly what we can do here. But what's so funny, Paco, looking at the YouTube channel, I published a video about lazy being the next best thing out there, and I published another video after it about Heptabase that this will be the next best thing. Now I have to do exactly the same thing this week. Can you imagine? That's crazy, man. This coincidence is really crazy.
And this shows also how
fast-paced everything.
Powerful is the PK and note-taking world in productivity, the big players that are there. That's why any new company that tries to, because this is amazing. There are amazing tools there out there that I can only say chapeau, okay, because it's amazing what they are delivering, and we'd love to use them all. The point is that it doesn't make sense, okay? You need to bet on the best one for you. In my case, it's really difficult. If I would try to go all in Heptabase, Craft, or even lazy, but I think that there's a big difference between lazy and Craft and Heptabase, in my opinion. Okay, they are in a much earlier stage, talking about the development and the solution and everything, because we are talking about, well, tools. Well, I don't know about Craft. Craft maybe has been in this story for 7 years in a row. I don't know when they started, but
I remember in
just being
2018,
fully
I made the
focused.
first video about Craft.
Yeah, so imagine being fully focused on that. Then they decided to move into that approach of the one tool for everything, talking about task management. That we always say the same. Well, if you don't have a huge amount of volume, okay, that we consider that's not the case of busy professionals, you will end up with something chaotic, okay? But the thing of just using your note-taking and PKM tool to create those actions on the go, and later on being able to distill them, because they will go to an inbox or to a specific place. For instance, talking about super tags on Tana, that you create a super tag like task, and then you got all the tasks and you do a quickly triage, complete them, and completing them means that you have sent them to the action system, okay, where they are properly linked, because they depend if it's inside your task management, maybe it goes into your project management. You want to polish to create those actions properly so that the moment that you start executing them, you got everything at all. You can perfectly link, because that's something important. I want to be able to link to any object in my note-taking and picking system coming out of any other system coming from the outside. For instance, if I'm using Todoist, for instance, for task management, I want to link to give that context, okay? And I want to link to a blog, for instance, like I can do, because that's the beautiful thing. I don't know if they implemented, Tom, the link to a whiteboard, because it was something that it wasn't possible in the past. Right now, I don't know if that's possible to link to a whiteboard, okay? Because that was a feature that I was missing in the past.
I didn't know that it was missing at some point, but you can
okay,
perfectly
but the point is that the moment that I can create that reference, it gives me the power of using any tool and create a perfect combination, you know, that
you can
give
perfectly hit add and just search for the whiteboard. Even the section inside the whiteboard is also referenceable. So you can reference just a section on a whiteboard, and by clicking on it, it will open up the whiteboard and zooms to the section.
Well, that's amazing, because that's what we always have stated, that tools should allow to link to the minimum, okay, object that they work with. Okay, in Tana it would be a node. On Heptabase it will be a block. On Notion it will be a block too. Okay, but that a specific piece of content that gives you the context, so that you can use a proper action system or action tool, in this case task management tool, a project management tool, in any place. You know, it's like linking to emails. That's the moment that you don't care about one tool for everything, because you have one system for everything, okay? And using the best features of any of the tools that you have. And that's the beautiful thing, okay? Now you don't have any friction at all by using Heptabase to store those action items that emerge at any moment, okay? For instance, if you are on the go, because also I think that you can use voice, that is something that you like, okay? To record voice and send it to Heptabase is something that you can do too. Well, the point is that we can keep asking for more, but I think that we have
That's
enough.
The point where
we have
keep
enough,
saying,
okay?
You know, when it comes to Heptabase, this is more than enough for, I'd say, more than 90% of the people that we are coaching and helping in the membership. Talking about backlinks again, if you're on the whiteboard, you can go to the info section, you see where the whiteboard was mentioned, right? So all these things, it works all over the place, and that was the amazing thing right now. That's why people are just not aware that it's there, because at the same time they keep it so simple. So the more complicated stuff is more hidden away, because most of the people are not using it anyway. So yeah, I'm still convinced that for me more than enough.
And they are also now
you're the outliner person and I'm the visual person, and we are taking advantage of these things in a different tools.
Yeah, correct. And well, they are going into the team approach, and we will see if they don't go too deep, okay? Because it makes sense, well, to be able to share something, you know, but not going into, well, the complexity of creating a business knowledge management tool, because that's the moment, you know, that we consider that they stop, you know, doubling down on the strength, okay? Because, like, for instance, I'm convinced that this inbox feature is going to be life-changing for most of the 100%. Users of Heptabase. Well, we have seen the reaction in our membership, for instance, how people have appreciated that because it has improved their lives with just one feature.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. It came to the right moment, and well, we know it. Building our own application. I just this morning showed Paco the potential we could have with the tool to build. But this is the moment, what we always tell these developers too from the productivity tools. Sit down and really think carefully what it is that is the value proposition of your tool. What really is the difference? Otherwise, they bloat it up, and just thinking about collaboration and all this, how many other obstacles they add on their plate. I don't know if the team grew. So it makes sense if there are more people and they make individual parts of the application. But if they need to spread themselves thin for the whole thing, that is what worried us. The more I'm surprised about the inbox release now. So that just gives me hope again. Let's see what Apple brings this year. Okay, what they release about their new OS. Maybe it will be a good year after all.
Yeah, maybe instead of square icons, we got circle
Yeah.
icons. I don't
Well,
know
at
what
least
would
a
be the life
new
changing thing.
streamlined naming of the operating systems. What a game
For
changer.
me, the more the hype, the more the bigger the frustration, man.
Hey,
I I would like to be grown, because if there's something that I would really this weekend, Tom and myself were exchanging ideas about AI and what other tools are offering, and how beautiful would be to enjoy those AI features implemented naturally
yeah,
using Apple devices. It will be totally life changing, and it's something that we will wonder until we die, I think, because we cannot find an answer and a reply to that question, because there could be so many connections between the interaction with the device and automations, okay, and linking all the Apple ecosystem. I don't know, too many things when you see other tools and what they are doing,
yeah.
knowing that
Apps
you
like
have
the
the
11 app,
possession,
yeah, the new agents and how they speak and all these things. Now I really
Right.
find it stupid. Whenever I'm the only moment I talk to Siri is when I set a timer or when I ask it to switch on the light or off. And even this I need to repeat twice or three times. And even the response feels so artificial when you're
Yeah.
talking to ChatGPT even. So, well, that's crazy that they
By
missed
the way,
that.
impressive the new improvement of ChatGPT voice, and these guys are really delivering things that are amazing. Also, for me, something that I do like is the option of interrupting during a conversation, and that gives you a natural way of
Yeah.
of talking. For me, I use it for talking in French, for instance. I'm practicing French, and the conversation runs really smoothly. And the thing is that it's surprising. It's a big surprise how they are evolving and improving and leveraging everything in such a short amount of time. Well, we will
Absolutely.
see what comes next.
All right, everybody. Was a nice talk. Interesting to catch up, Paco. And we will catch you
Yeah.
up with you guys next week. See you inside the
Okay. See you.
membership. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.